his solo album that's coming out here this spring. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Mr. B.J. Barham from American Aquarium.
Check one, there we go. How y'all doing? Good. For most of you, I'm just the guy that stands in between you and barbecue. But for some of you, I'm going to play songs. We were talking in the back, and I think I'm the only native North Carolinian here on the panel. Not here, the panel. Everybody else is transplants, and I grew up in Reidsville, North Carolina, which is, yeah, some Reidsville people in the crowd. So first 18 years of my life I spent in Reidsville, which for y'all not acquainted with the geography of North Carolina, that is in the Piedmont region. I'm about 15 miles north of Greensboro, North Carolina. And I spent 18 years there, and then I got accepted into North Carolina State University, and so I moved to Raleigh when I was 18 years old. Let's go Pack. And yeah, don't really have much to brag about as sports goes, but Raleigh's nice. So we have no dog in this whole tournament time argument, so I'm just going to not talk about that. I have a tattoo on my arm, Mr. Wolf, and it just says, "Wait till next year." Which really should just be kind of the motto of NC State University. We are the lovable losers of the triangle, and But they asked me to do this thing on storytelling, and it's kind of what I get paid to do. I get paid to tell stories, and I think stories are a really great way to connect people to human emotions. Human emotion has been something that I've always been fascinated with. Growing up, my great-grandfather was in tobacco, my grandfather was in tobacco, my father was in tobacco. So I broke the curse, and I went to college, and to this day, my dad still calls me City Boy. Most of you would make fun of how I talk because I do not sound like I'm from the city. But I wrote a bunch of songs about where I grew up, and it's coming out on my solo record in the summertime. It's a record called Rockingham, which is the county that's Reidsville's in. So I'm going to play you guys some songs from that. And my grandfather spent 42 years of his life working for the American Tobacco Company in Reidsville, North Carolina. A lot of you folks know of the Durham campus. But back in the 30s and 40s, it got too much. Really? I'm totally kidding. I'm just kidding. Super light. I promise I was totally kidding with you. But yeah, my grandfather worked there for 42 years because the Durham plant got overrun because America got involved in a couple world wars, and soldiers tend to smoke a lot of cigarettes, and so Durham couldn't produce enough cigarettes. So the Dukes opened up another plant in Reidsville, North Carolina, which was awesome because it's the only thing that anybody from my town ever did. You either farmed tobacco or you manufactured tobacco. So my grandfather, all three of my four grandparents worked at the American Tobacco Company and retired from it. And so my grandpa also served the country in World War II, and he came home from the war, and he got a job at the American Tobacco Company, and he hated every single day of his life until he died. He hated the job. He sat at a machine for 12 hours a day and watched cigarettes just roll by. And that's all he did. And the only reason he did it was because he had 3 kids and a wife at home. And that was a generation of people that just kept their head down and did what they were told and did their job and didn't complain about it. And you got a paycheck every week. And there's something about that type of person. Some people call them assholes. I love my grandfather, and I thought he was a resilient man. And I wrote a song for him, and it's called The American Tobacco Company. Every day around lunchtime I start daydreaming. My inside starts screaming, wanting something more. And I come crashing back to reality before the walls close in on me and crush me to the core. And I whirl my fingers to the bone just to have a little bit of something I can call my own. At the American Tobacco Company. At the American Tobacco Company. When I got home in the summer of 45, not a single place was hiring, but my cousin knew a guy. Now I sit here on the line and watch these big machines crush my hopes and dreams into Pall Malls and Lucky Strikes. And I work my fingers to the bone just to have a little bit of something I can call my own. At the American Tobacco Company. At the American Tobacco Company. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps, they say, and you can live the American dream. But all those days I spent thinking in the South Pacific, hell, this ain't how I thought that dream would be. So every single morning I walk into this building and I think about my children and the life they ought to lead. And I try my best not to look back, just stare up at that smokestack and my troubles fade away. Thank y'all. So yes, storytelling is kind of the only thing that I've ever really been good at. I'm a pretty bad waiter. I'm a really terrible bartender. But songwriting has kind of been the thing that I love, and I love telling stories about people that I meet. I get to travel the country. We play between 250 to 300 shows a year around the country, around the world now. But I get to meet a lot of cool people, and I get to tell a lot of cool people's stories. And so this record, yeah, that song was about my grandpa, but that's just kind of a giant amalgamation of just stories that I've heard from people my grandfather's age from my town. And I think storytelling is kind of a cool thing. I think everybody, they've already said it a million times, but everybody kind of has a really cool story, even if you don't think you do. You can sit down and talk about a breakup. You can talk about your job. You can talk about what your grandfather did for a living, and somebody's going to take something away from that. And I think it's a really neat thing that we all have. And it was a real honor that they asked me to come to this thing and speak and sing songs and all that good stuff. So thank y'all for listening to me. I'm going to play you one more song. Yeah. It was a good time, just a bad decision. We were all wrapped up with the best intentions. You were out of my league, and I was running out of time to string together words that were gonna make you mine. Ain't it funny how it all works out? Ain't it funny how it all works out? Ain't it funny how every now and then the unfortunate kind get lucky sometimes? 39 years you've been putting up with me. Your folks said we'd never see our first anniversary. Do you remember that first week when you burnt that pecan pie? And I ate the whole damn thing. I couldn't stand to see you cry. Ain't it funny how it all works out? Ain't it funny how it all works out? Ain't it funny how every now and then the unfortunate kind Get lucky sometimes. Then you got sick. Things just weren't the same. There were days I'd come to visit, you didn't even know my name. Then I watched you fade away while I was holding tight to you, until the nurses pulled me back and said there's nothing you can do. Ain't it funny how it all works out? Ain't it funny how it all works out? Ain't it funny how every now and then the unfortunate kind get lucky sometimes? It's been 2 years to the day since you left me here alone. Most days I sit there in the kitchen waiting for you to come home. Yeah, I'm still haunted by your ghost. I can't sleep in our old bed. I just lay there on the couch thinking about the words you said. Ain't it funny how it all works out? Ain't it funny how it all works out? Ain't it funny how every now and then the unfortunate kind get lucky sometimes? So that's a pretty heavy one. Did anybody feel any kind of emotion during that song? 100% completely fictional. That's what storytelling can do. Storytelling can be something, that story is completely made up, 100% pulled out of thin air. But we've all connected to it somehow. We all have a personal experience with those lyrics. We all have a personal experience, whether it's your grandparents or your mom or your dad or your ex-boyfriend from high school's grandparents. We all have connections to these really human things. And I still get choked up playing the song, and I wrote the damn thing, and it's fake. Which I don't know what that says about me. In my 30s, I've become much more of a crier. I used to be kind of a solid emotional person, but now, like Toy Story 3, cried twice. I cried at the moment where like Buzz and Woody are getting ready to get melted and their hands start melting together. Oh. At 32 years old, I watched my entire childhood getting ready to end. And I'm just crying, and my wife looks at me, she's like, "What is wrong with you?" I was like, "Pull it together, BJ, you're good." 30 minutes later, everything's resolved. They hand the toys to the new kid. A whole new generation gets to experience what I just experienced, and I started crying again. So human emotion is a cool thing, and I think storytelling is a really great way to display human emotion. So thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to me. My name is BJ Barham. I'm in a band called American Aquarium from Raleigh, North Carolina. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Thanks for listening.